If it doesn't happen in this administration, it can be done by the next committee, my committee, the Government Operations Oversight Committee that I was a spokesman of. They will have the subpoena power when they get the majority in the next Congress to get the information and get it out and to do the investigations that are necessary.
Now, in the States, Bill and Hillary Clinton have agreed to testify in a U.S. House congressional investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. They agreed only days before the committee was due to vote on whether to hold them in contempt of Congress. It's after a good long period of back and forth between the Clintons and James Comer, who's the chair of the House Oversight Committee. Doug Sosnick is a former senior advisor to President Clinton. Joins us on the line. Hello to you, Doug.
How are you?
Well, thank you for joining us. The Clintons, they initially dismissed the call to give evidence on Epstein, didn't they? They said it was a political ploy meant to embarrass them at the behest of Donald Trump. What changed their mind, do you think?
Well, I think they actually have some regard for our political system, and the Republicans were heading towards I guess you could say, to some extent, a constitutional crisis in terms of trying to get a former president to testify. So I think ultimately, out of respect for the rules of our government, I think they decided to testify.
Yeah. I mean, it's true that on this oversight committee, Democrats as well as Republicans supported the decision to call them and even perhaps to hold them in contempt of the House if they refused. So to that extent, it was a bipartisan matter.
Well, that's right. There were 9 Democrats who voted to subpoena President Clinton. I think there were 2 or 3 for Hillary Clinton, and it was bipartisan. And I think in part that reflects for a number of members of Congress now, it's been 30 years since the Clintons were in the White House. And I think for a whole new generation of politicians, they're ready to move on, unencumbered.
Hey, why Hillary Clinton? She's not in the Epstein files, is she? And not a connection of Epstein?
Well, I think, first of all, she says she's never met him. And so the question why Hillary is, I think, the answer to the whole thing, which is this is pure politics. And it's really designed nothing more, certainly in the case of Hillary, who says she's never met the guy, to embarrass her or to try to get her, I suppose, in a perjury trap where at some point, if they could prove that she'd met him after she said under oath that she hadn't, then she'd be vulnerable. But the short answer, in a word, politics.
Yeah. Look, when you are a seasoned reader of the political crystal ball, what do you anticipate is going to happen when they appear?
Well, Chairman Comer is widely regarded as a very ineffective chairman. And I can't think of a single investigation that he's led that's amounted to anything. And that's really a bipartisan view of him. So I think what they'll try to do is they're trying to give President Trump cover and trying to muddy up the whole Epstein matter to make it either bipartisan or about nothing. So I think that they haven't negotiated the terms of the president and the first lady's appearance, but I would assume at some point they will testify and that the Republicans will be able to generate 1 day of press, maybe 2 days of press coverage around it and try to not only muddy up the Clintons, but also try to give President Trump more cover.
All right. Now, just lastly, on the Epstein files, I see it reported that there are still many files still unpublished, not yet released, despite the congressional order for that to happen. What are your thoughts on why that might be?
Politics. They named 47 people in the files, victims, and they've been protecting a lot of the people that actually did the acts. And there's no explanation for not releasing the remaining 3 million files except for politics. And I don't think there's this administration doesn't even pretend to have a wall between the White House and the president and the Justice Department. They view the Justice Department as an arm of the White House.
All right, Doug Sosnick, good to talk to you today. Thank you. Doug is a senior advisor to President Clinton.
Let's talk to Robert Weiner. He's a former spokesman for Bill Clinton, also worked for President Bush in the White House. Good evening to you, Robert.
Carole, it's great to be with you again, and thank you so much for having me. But let me just explain. I'm not a spokesman for Bill Clinton or Hillary, even though they're both very dear friends. even on Epstein issues any more than I was when Bill Clinton was involved and Ken Starr subpoenaed him, and he called me in front of him and wanted to know everything I knew about Monica. I didn't know anything about Monica Lewinsky. I never met the woman. I just know the stories, and I made a point of not know. So let me just make clear that what I say is going to be what I believe and what I know from my knowledge, but not from Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton.
Well, thank you for clarifying that. But I know that you did work with the former president in the past. So sure. But we do, of course, take on board the fact that you're speaking now in a personal capacity. Let me just ask you first of all about the decision of the Clintons to appear before that Congressional committee. They'd originally said that they weren't going to do so, but then there was an announcement last night that they would do so. They had been threatened with a subpoena. Why do you think they have decided to comply with the committee now?
Because there were all but 8 votes in the committee to subpoena them, and they would have been hit with contempt. So they didn't want to face the contempt charges, and it's better to come out and tell the truth as Bill and Hillary see it. And let me just say this about that. There were 5,000 mentions of Donald Trump in these 3 million new pages. 5,000. And some of them are very terrible. And the Department of Justice back then decided not to prosecute. Well, that just makes the case that they should have investigated and maybe prosecuted. But as far as Bill and Hillary are concerned, there are some mentions. And yes, he's in the jacuzzi and all of that. But although nothing like the posture that Andrew was shown at over the woman today, but that's a different issue. And so it's why would they not come out and tell the truth and also say what they know about who else was involved?
Well, that is the important thing, isn't it? Because the victims of Jeffrey Epstein do want all those who were involved to come forward and say what they know. There were those pictures of Bill Clinton in the jacuzzi in a swimming pool. There do appear to be records of him traveling on Epstein's private jet, and it does seem as though they were close associates for quite some time. So do you think that Bill Clinton will be able to shed some further light on Jeffrey Epstein and the way that he trafficked and used girls?
It may be. But remember a couple things, Carole, that the media has forgotten here. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who one of the few good things she did in her life was to be supportive of these women victims of Epstein, said that Trump told her that you can't release the names. They will hurt my friends. And nobody asked Marjorie Taylor Greene which friends. Likewise, when Ghislaine Maxwell was interviewed by the Deputy Attorney General, and she said there were cabinet officers involved of Trump's, he never asked her who were the cabinet officers. So the cover-up and the non-disclosure and the non-asking and the non-prosecutions are outrageous in this system. And
well, let me just point out, Bob, that President Trump has said he was not friendly with Jeffrey Epstein, that he ended his association with Epstein before Epstein was convicted. Trump has claimed that there was a conspiracy to try to damage him. And the committee that looked at the complaints against him said that they all were made very recently, and none of them appeared to be based on any evidence of Trump's actual association with Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay, let me just respond to that because I've done some serious thinking and reading about it. Did you see Virginia Giuffre's email that said Trump spent hours with as it was Virginia Giuffre that he spent hours with, but
she did not say that he had behaved in any way improperly.
Yes, and the first thing that women do who are assaulted and later killed themselves is they are in denial. They are in denial from such a powerful person as Trump. And not only that, but it said several times with her. And so how can they say there has been no smoking gun when that email has been out there and they never investigated any of Trump's allegations? He has done more to stop every single possibility of anything coming out. And as I said, telling Marjorie Taylor Greene, who said this publicly, that you can't release the names because they will hurt my friends. He has done everything to keep everything away from the public, even though he said, because he knew it was politically solvent to the MAGA people, that, we've got to release the Epstein files. He's done everything to stop it.
The Clintons have said that they hope that it sets a precedent that they appear before this congressional committee.
Right.
Do you think that they now hope that people who have been very high profile here in the UK, Lord Mandelson, and of course Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, do you think that they should follow that precedent that will be set by the Clintons later this month and appear before that congressional committee and explain what they know about Jeffrey Epstein's activities?
Absolutely. And by the way, Andrew's punishment, get one royal house instead of another. What a punishment. So, I mean, I watched that happen too. So, yes, of course, everybody should testify, but the Justice Department now, and by the way, if it doesn't happen in this administration, it can be done by the next committee, my committee, the Government Operations Oversight Committee that I was a spokesman of. They will have the subpoena power when they get the majority in the next Congress to get the information and get it out and to do the investigations that are necessary. So there's a lot still to come here, Carole. And it's unfortunate, but geez, just playing the clip that you did from Trump, he still wants to hide it and 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 divert it. And he'll do a war. He'll do bombing Iran. He'll take over another Caribbean country. He'll do anything to stop attention to his horrible actions. As I said, 5,000 mentions that they did not investigate.
Yeah,
5,000.
As we have discussed, the committee felt that those were too recent and not based on evidence. But it's been great to speak to you, Robert Weiner.
You too, Carole.
Really good to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sure. Pleasure.